so many people yell out about the podcast and in front of our bosses, which was a good thing too. I wanted to be like, hey, bosses, you hear that?
Yeah, it was the first time they found out that we actually did this thing. They were like, I didn't know you were still doing that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're still doing it. It's wild card weekend. We didn't quit yet. Our bosses know we do this. That's right. We're here. It's Sunday night, just like usual. Good old times. Me and Ahmed Fareed are here. Chris Simms Unbuttoned, presented by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. What's up, my man? My man, he's relaxed this week because his Lions aren't playing. The Red Pants are out. They haven't been out in a long time, so he's feeling himself today. What's up, Ahmed Fareed?
Good to see you, Chris.
Good to see you, buddy. How's everything going?
Good. Playoff time. I figured playoff time.
Playoff time to break him out.
The Red Pants.
It's playoff, Ahmed.
And you're right. I am so relaxed right now. I'm watching all these games. I'm seeing players go down. We never root for injuries. Never do that. The Lions have had their fair share. I know that. But I'm just like, man, it's so good that I don't have to worry about a Lions player getting injured this weekend.
Exactly right. I mean, like 10 minutes ago, if we turned back the clock, he was literally like, man, people just don't get this bye week. I mean, we're getting healthy. We feel good. So, yeah, Mr. Lions fan is feeling good that his team's at home, getting all rested up and ready to go.
Yes.
We've had an interesting weekend. We saw that. We know that.
Yeah,
and we'll dive into it.
Well, the NFL took out the word super from Wild Card Weekend, and now we know why.
Right.
Because it was not that super.
No, it was
all
not
these
that
games
super.
The teams that were supposed to be dominant were dominant, but they were too dominant to make them compelling football games at the end.
Well, all right. What I want to say to a lot of people, because I've heard this, and my picks reflected, I thought we were going to have games like this. I picked the Chargers to win a game. I did. That was my wrong one. But some of these other games, I thought they would go the way they did. My question, I'm not trying to pump myself up here. My thing is, we knew there was a tier in football, right? And that's where I go to a lot of people like, what did we expect? We knew there was a class of teams that was above the rest of the teams in football. And I think we're seeing that a little bit this weekend, at least with some of these matchups where you just went, wow, one team is in a different tier, a different upper echelon, a different cream of the crop compared to the other team. And I think that's why we saw some of these lopsided victories.
Yeah, there were three in the AFC, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore. And if you wanted to throw a fourth in there, maybe Cincinnati, who didn't even make the playoffs. You know what I mean? But it wasn't Houston, although they looked like it, and we'll get into that game here later on.
We will.
NFC, Detroit, Philly.
Yeah. And then
Minnesota.
Everybody else is like,
Minnesota.
Yeah. And I'm not into Minnesota being so much in the upper tier that I think they're going to dominate and blow out the Rams tomorrow night. Certainly not. So that'll be a fun game, and we'll break that down on later on the pod too. But, hey, one of my favorite weekends of the year. It's not my favorite. Next weekend's my favorite weekend, especially with the national championship capping the weekend on Monday.
My gosh.
But this week, I mean, you talk about 5 days of football. Notre Dame, Penn State was awesome. Texas and Ohio State was okay.
Yeah, we should talk very briefly, and I know you don't want to dwell on it. You were supposed to go to that game. The homies knew you were going to be at that game in Jerry's World.
And our flight got canceled.
That's such a
Thursday
bummer.
afternoon, and I could have maybe still got there for Friday. The problem was getting back here Saturday. It was looking like I wasn't going to maybe get back till Sunday, and you know how that goes. Then like one thing happens, and all of a sudden you're late for work, and I just wasn't going to be up for that stress or do that. I do like my job. I do like making money, and I don't want to be fired by NBC. So my wife was like, hey, I think we can get there before the game starts on Friday. She's like, the problem is I don't know if we can get home Saturday. And when she said that, I was just like, forget it. I was like, I can't take that risk. I'm not doing it. So I watched it at home. It was a lot of fun. Ohio State's better. I know that.
Yeah.
But we hung in there and had chances, certainly.
Like, will you have nightmares about that fourth or first and goal?
The first and goal toss play?
Yeah.
Here's my problem with the first or the second and one, whatever it was. They were on the 1 yard line here with a chance to score late in the game. There's never such a quick turnaround in emotions in my life because I'm literally like, yes, we're going to tie this up.
Right.
And we're going to put pressure on them too. Oh, my gosh, we're going to lose by 2 touchdowns. It's over. But my biggest play with the toss sweep to 26 was just he's not the proper player to run the toss sweep to. Our most explosive running back was 23, Blue. He's been like that the whole year, and I think he's fumbled a few times, and he's not in the trust tree there altogether, but you saw the 2 touchdown passes Quinn Ewers threw. They were Blue up the left sideline, right? He was the guy you run the toss sweep to. If you wanted it up the middle, you run it to 26. That was my issue. I understand them not wanting to run it up the middle. Ohio State's goal line defense was the best in college football. Ohio State's defensive line is all starting in the NFL, right? So I understand Texas is tactically not wanting to go there. I get that. Just unfortunate we lost, but we'll be back.
Good season. I mean,
it was a good season.
They were there
Great
last
year.
year. They're here this year on
Great
the doorstep.
Year. Exactly right.
All right. So,
but yeah, it's a great weekend. 5 days of football, and of course, it's not even over until tomorrow.
Well, here we go. So we're hitting every game from the weekend, which is much easier now. Give me the headlines, home team help from our friends at Lowe's, and a preview of the one remaining game that has not kicked off yet, Monday night between the Vikings and the Rams. But let's start Wild Card Sunday. Not super. The Eagles made sure of that against the Packers. Fairly convincing win, even though it was close. There are times I'm like, well, maybe the Packers could come back if their whole team hadn't been injured throughout the course of this game. So now the Eagles will host Tampa or the winner of that Rams-Minnesota game. We'll get into all that. But for the most part, I would say this. The only unit that really, really disappointed, I think, was the Packers offense. Right? Because Packers defense played well.
Sure.
Special teams was bad, giving up that fumble early on. But they held that Philadelphia offense in check for most of this
Definitely
game.
right. It was a defensive struggle, right? Yeah. You could probably be, if you're an Eagles fan, you're a little disappointed and worried about the Eagles offense a little too, and just going, hey, we're too good to be only throwing for 131 yards, and a lot of those throws and yards came late in the football game. Right? So that's the big thing there. Hey, the thing that jumped out, and we knew, and we had said this all year, right? The Packers are one of the few teams that has the physical beast on their roster to hang in there with the Lions, the Eagles, the Chiefs, or whoever. They weren't going to be outclassed physically, right? But this was a game where you saw an Eagles team that got to rest last week. They didn't play many of their starters, and they certainly showed their physicality right off the bat with, the opening kickoff fumble. Oren Burks just squares up Kashawn Nixon, right, and makes him fumble. And that was a huge moment in the football game, especially when you just look back at it and go, hey, the Eagles' offense wasn't really clicking on all cylinders, so that gave them a short field and got them some quick, cheap points right away to start the football game, let alone the touchdown itself. If you remember, the Packers rushed 4, and Jalen Hurts had never left the pocket for almost 7 seconds. Like, listen, there's plays where there's great domination on the defensive side of the ball, or great blocking on the offensive side of the ball, but yet the quarterback scrambles and creates time, and we look at a clock and go, oh, he held the ball for 10 seconds. This was something in the pocket. That's how great the Eagles' O-line is and their tackles are specifically. That was at least a big moment there that got them jump-started, got them up 7-0, and then they could ride their defense really until the offense got going later in the football game.
Per Next Gen Stats, Hurts dropped back for 6.75 seconds on that 11-yard touchdown pass to
without
Jahan
leaving
Dotson.
the pocket.
It's the longest time to throw on a touchdown pass from a clean pocket this season. You're right, because normally that's a guy going sideline to sideline or at least one way. Didn't have to do that.
Yeah, it's really rare you see that, where a guy just stays in the spot. He went up a little, and then he came back a little, and then he went up a little again, and then he came back, and he found the right game, found Dotson in the back of the end zone. But one of the things I wrote in my notes as we were watching the game is early in the football game, even though the points weren't showing it or anything like that, the Eagles were physically dominating the football game. I mean, the Packers couldn't do anything on the offensive side of the ball early on in the game. The Eagles were having success in the run game and Saquon early, and then they kind of got away from it for a little bit, which was a little frustrating. But all in all, you see this is the Eagles football team that has everything. And the biggest thing they got is, we know they got playmakers at all skill positions, but the big thing is, hey, I don't think there's a better tackle tandem. I'm not sure there's better tackles in general at left tackle or right tackle than the two guys in Philadelphia, right? Their offensive line is special. And then you saw today, too, with a Green Bay offense that can be scary, right? I know they haven't been as scary, but they usually take aggressive shots down the field and do stuff like that. The Eagles don't have to blitz. That's the other thing that you just watch them. They go, hey, our front four, Carter, right, Milton Williams, Nolan Smith, Sweat, they'll get there. We don't have to compromise ourselves and leave Romeo Doubs one-on-one or somebody like that. And that's where they're super dangerous. They're going to be able to play really good offenses like Detroit Lions if they ever get there and get to that moment. And they're not going to have to risk do risky things at times just to make it happen. That's how good they are. So we'll see where that goes. But that certainly was impressive for them. And, they made Jordan Love look very average today. That's for sure.
3 interceptions for him. Philly now has an 8-game home winning streak. Last home loss, week 2 against the Falcons. In fact, overall, have won 13 of their last 14 games. only loss was at Washington. That was Week 16, just a little while ago. So, yeah, I mean, are you concerned with Philly's offense at all? It might have been a little rust, right? Jalen Hurts hadn't played in a while.
That's right.
290 total yards. You're saying that the Packers got some dudes there. But any lingering worries about that Eagles offense?
A little, right? I the whole year I've told you the one thing that worries me about Philly is just their pass game, and I wish they did a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I do think there has to be a little bit of a concerted effort in the start of the football game to get guys going a little bit, right? To get the ball into A.J. Brown's hand a little bit. I just don't know if there's enough of an effort sometimes. I think sometimes they just go, hey, we're really good. We're just going to run our offense, and everybody will get the ball that way. Yes. And I go, no, it's playoff football, and sometimes you got to manipulate that a little bit. You got to make your quarterback feel good early. You got to get some of your receivers and make them feel like they're in the game, so A.J. Brown isn't on the sidelines reading a book or doing something like that.
Strange.
Yeah, he does that all the time, apparently. That's what he's saying, even though I haven't really seen it. But that is what worries me. You heard me all year. The passing game is somewhat simple.
Yeah.
But I also do attribute it to what you said. And again, Jalen Hurts, he barely practiced. He didn't practice this week until what, Thursday? I mean, he didn't do much Wednesday. I think he just took a part of practice. So, yeah, from that standpoint, that was my worry going into the game, was that Jalen Hurts wouldn't be at his best, and he wasn't, but he battled through it, and that's where their defense was so good, and that's where this game was weird. They were up 10-3, and you were like, it's only 10-3? It feels like they're kind of dominating more than that, right? I mean, the Green Bay was unable to do anything. Yeah. And the biggest thing, again, going back to our D and the Eagles, you mentioned that, the O-line, all that. I don't want to jump the shark here. We'll stay on the Eagles offense for now.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. They'll be a different team next week. You've heard me say before, and this is what worries me about Kansas City coming up this week. This is like a Green Bay team who's played football the last few weeks, meaningful football, tried to beat the Bears last week, and the Eagles have not had to do anything for a few weeks, and they kind of, I think just a little bit, like you said, rusty, not on their A game. I bet you they're a lot better next week, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Survive and advance, yeah. But the reason it was closer than it should have been is because they just couldn't make those big plays in the pass game, right?
The Packers
A.J. Brown
held them in the game.
One catch for 10 yards.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I felt like the Eagles got away from the run game, and they just could not get much going in the pass game in general. And that's where, hopefully that improves. But the other side of that, conversation and what we're talking about here is just that Green Bay's offense couldn't get anything going. And that was, of course, something we were worried about all year. And I think right now we have to
So we're in the fourth quarter right now of our game, which is the only good game so far.
The only good game this weekend is right.
Wild card weekend. It is 17-13 Tampa. Washington went for fourth down.
Inside the 3-yard line.
They didn't get it. And so this is part of the calculus of that whole, you should have taken the points. Like, if you don't get it, you do pin Tampa back. Now, Tampa did get a first down, but now unforced error on the handoff, fumble. Washington's got it, and they're rolling
They tried to run the speed sweep to Jalen McMillan, the rookie, and they botched the handoff. And it looks like it's on Baker. Like, Baker doesn't quite get back there to hand him the ball off the right way. Ball hits the ground, and Bobby Wagner picks up the ball, and now they got the ball inside the 15-yard line again here with a chance to score. That was a huge moment in the football game. 17-13 Bucks. Bucks, like you said, had just run it up the middle to get a first down. It kind of felt like they might start controlling the game here a little bit, and now Jaden Daniels and this Washington offense are going to have a chance to take a lead or maybe kick a field goal and only go down 1 point.
And by the way, earlier in the game, another highlight play by Baker when he was just bouncing off people, running for the first down. If you had the 20 coolest plays in the NFL this year, I think Baker would be in at least 2 or 3 of those plays.
I would say so. I think he's got 3 or 4. Throws, plays, talking trash, igniting his football team. He does that. We'll see where this goes. I think this game has a lot of football left to be played here.
All right, shout out a couple of the dudes in our Eagles win here. We got Nolan Smith, 8 tackles, a couple sacks for him. We got Quinyon Mitchell, your guy, your man crush in the draft process. 6 targets faced, allowed just 2 catches for 10 yards with an interception. I mean, Green Bay, they were stymied, 4 turnovers, starting with the opening kickoff, like you mentioned there. From the Packers' perspective here, Obviously, they were banged up at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Obviously, they ended the year probably at a low point for them. Like, this was like the last 3 weeks have been terrible.
Yeah.
Like, where like you assess this year for the Green Bay Packers?
It's a disappointing year. They had a Super Bowl football team where they never got their quarterback to play at a Super Bowl level. One, he's young, right? And he's still inexperienced. We can't forget that. But two, I think the injuries, right, starting with week 1 in the Eagles game where he got hurt and hurt his calf and his knee and all that, to me, seemed to throw him off kilter for the rest of the year. And then he dealt with little knickknacks and injuries all throughout the year and missed practice here and there. And this week, he missed practice on Wednesday because of the elbow and being numb from last week's football game. So that's where this season is positive in the fact that, hey, they won and beat a lot of good football teams and played some good football, but they're going to be also discontent. Is that what I want to say?
Sure.
They're not going to be content with the year in the fact of going, we had more potential on this football team.
They looked like maybe the second or third best team in the NFC at points.
Exactly
in
right.
The year.
Exactly right. And then they're going to be able to use the excuse of, oh, man, Christian Watson, he dealt with injuries down the stretch, right? Romeo Doubs had some things going on. We just never, quite got to be at our best late in the year, and that is going to motivate them into the offseason. But that is certainly a thing. Jordan Love, his play, you heard me say it all year long. It showed again in this game. There was still a number of plays and throws in this football game where I went, Jordan Love's too talented to miss an out route on the 4-yard line that should have been a touchdown to score at one point. And they came away, I believe, with no points on that drive, or if maybe it was a field goal. But, yeah, just too much of that from him this year. Too much dicey decisions that you just go, hey, you're too good to do that, or throw that ball into a crowd like that. The interceptions today certainly were not great. The Green Bay has got just about everything you want on the football team. I think they're going to go into the offseason and go, we need another receiver. We got to get, because they can't depend on Christian Watson because he's been hurt too much. And the Romeo Doubs situation's a little odd for a lot of different reasons, and especially the severe head injury today where he looked shaky. That, to me, would be the one position they look to address. But you know me, I think Green Bay is still a team to be reckoned with for the future, and I still say watch out for them next year.
All right, here's the A.J. Brown photo. Pete, if you got that back there, we'll just show what we were talking about here. He was reading a book on the sideline. There it is.
There it is.
I forget the title. They did show the title at
They
one
did.
point.
They did show it.
This is what he tweeted about. He goes, this game is 90% mental, 10% physical for me. I bring it to every game, and I read it between every drive. I use it to refocus and lock in despite what may transpire in the game, good or bad. People tend to create controversy when they don't know the truth.
Yeah.
Inner excellence.
Inner excellence. Hey, I'm not going to – I'm going to take him at his word.
Yeah, sure.
I am. Now, I mean, the camera's been on him a little bit more on the sidelines as of late, just because, of course, he had the little spat with Jalen Hurts a few weeks ago. He was asleep on the sideline, a little last week. So I think the camera was on him and it caught him. But I'll take him at his word for this moment. I'm sure some people will do some digging and try to get to the bottom of that. That's truly true that he reads that week in and week out.
All right, so we don't know who the Eagles will play. Could be the Rams-Vikings winner, or it could be Tampa Bay if they win. But, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, they did it again. They went for 4th and 2. From the, 6-yard line or so?
4th and 2 again, and it was Terry McLaurin over the middle of the field at an in-cut. Jaden Daniels had time to throw it in the pocket. The play before, he threw a check down to Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
And it was very debatable about whether he caught it, and the Buccaneers seemed to have stole it out of his hand as he was going to the ground. But nonetheless, I don't think there was enough evidence overall. The Bucs blew a big opportunity there to control the game with the fumble to McMillan, and then Washington capitalized. And we know Jaden Daniels, you give him too many chances, he's going to strike and make it happen. 20-17 Washington right now.
You, it's the Dan Campbell effect right there. I give credit to Dan Quinn because I feel like a lot of coaches there, when you get burned one time going for a 4th down, you go, I don't want to look like an idiot again. So he goes for it, and they got it.
Yep.
All right, so now they have the lead. 2017 Commanders with 9:46 to go in a game that we don't yet know the result to.
No, we don't. We hit it all on Green Bay Eagles. Do we want to hit anything else there? I think we've hit it all, right?
The thing that's left will just be previewing the game, and we'll have time to do that.
All right, cool.
On Wednesday. We're back on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, we're back on Wednesday.
Gotta look at my schedule.
Definitely. And right now, as we sit here, we don't know who the Eagles are going to play yet. So that'll be interesting. If Tampa wins, they will go to Philadelphia. If Washington wins, they will go to Detroit.
Yep.
Right?
And Philly will play the winner of Rams and Vikings.
Rams and Vikings. Exactly right. Thanks for getting that straight for me.
All right, we'll move on now. And for this, we go into the printing press. It is time for Give Me the Headlines, presented by Hyundai. There it is. I like the silver football screaming through the air. That's almost like the Super Bowl trophy football. It's like they broke it off of the trophy and they threw it for a pass.
It is
the
like
people
that.
at Hyundai.
That is like that.
They can do that. You pay enough money, you can do
know
that with a Super Bowl trophy. If you're listening to this podcast, you have no idea what we just were talking about. The Bills beat the Broncos 31-7. Easy. Your headline for this one was?
Allen, all in a day's work. All in, all
Allen.
Allen, Allen, a day's work.
Yeah,
Allen, a day's work.
Allen, a day's work.
I tried to say it on Football Night in America today, and I still messed it up, even though I practiced it before.
You've had multiple chances at it.
Yeah, exactly
But
right.
you get the idea.
You get it. It had something to do with Josh Allen and a normal day of work for him, right? That's what we're getting to.
But it didn't look like it was going to be a normal day. The game started out, and you see this long touchdown pass, which apparently was the first time in NFL history a rookie
Can you believe
quarterback.
that?
I could not believe
rookie
that.
quarterback, rookie receiver, touchdown
never.
pass in a playoff game. Never had happened.
I was like, they screwed that up.
When
screwed
I
up
heard that
stat.
too, I was like, "What? Like, what are you
someone's getting
talking
fired
about?
over
How
that.
could that not have happened before?"
it's true.
But no,
Mike.
our research team is all over, it, and they're like, "No, that's right. That is the first time ever."
So that happened, and I'm like, this is what Chris was talking about. I was like, the Broncos are not going to. And then as the game went on, I was like, what was Chris talking about? This game was
well,
easy.
I did say as the game would go on, Buffalo was going to blow them out.
That is
This is one of my best bets of the week. I kind of thought it would go like this. I thought Denver would actually make a few more plays than just 7, right? But early in the game, he hits the big in cut to Courtland Sutton. Then they kind of run the same exact play, and this time they take the cheese, and they're a little worried about Courtland Sutton running the deep in cut, and that gives them the post over the top to Franklin. He throws a beautiful ball, touchdown, 7-0. Hey, Denver certainly early on was hanging around and then some to make the game interesting. They did the right things. I mean, offensive side of the ball, they came out throwing the football. I think they knew they weren't going to be able to run the ball all that well and successful, so they tried to throw the football. The big thing is what they did, I thought, on the defensive side of the ball. They played a little more conservative early on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
That's why I thought it might be a little more of a shootout, because I thought Denver, they like to pressure and they like to play some man-to-man and do some crazy things. And I went, well, if they do too much of that against Josh Allen, we might see some back and forth early on. Instead, they kind of played, we'll play shell coverage. We're gonna call your bluff. Will you run the ball? Will you stay patient? Will Josh Allen stay patient and take the check down and run when he needs to and do that? And he did. And that's been the difference with Josh Allen this year. Early in the game, they didn't panic. They didn't try to force anything. He didn't make one dicey decision the whole game. They called a few quarterback design runs. He scrambled a few times. They were running the ball really well with James Cook. They had almost over 100 yards about 2 minutes into the second quarter. Just to tell you, that's how good they were running the football. And then what happens? Then it starts to get like, damn, we're dying a slow death. Let's start taking a chance a little here and there. And then we know that's when big plays start to happen. The biggest play of the day, though, was the 4th and 1 that puts them up 21-7. The throw to Ty Johnson in the back of the end zone. That was an incredible play.
Well, here it is. We got the dots if you're watching. Josh Allen buying a little time. Looking, of course, you're just waiting for that big banana route from your running back, and there it is in the back of the end zone.
Exactly right. Well, there's another play like the Jalen Hurts. This is 7 seconds or 6.8 seconds, but is not in the pocket, like you said. This is, you got out of the pocket. They're hoping for in this play, and if you watch this and it re-racks, you'll see in a second, they want to get Ty Johnson the ball on a wheel route from the get-go. But Denver does a really good job covering it. There's nothing there to be open. But this is what's crazy about Josh Allen, and this is why he and Lamar lead the MVP race, because you can play the perfect defense, you can execute it almost perfect, and he goes, no, I can run out here and buy more time, and then I can float and buy even a little more time, and then, I could throw a ball off my back foot and, with touch 45 yards and drop it in a spot that's nice and easy for my running back to kind of come across the back of the end zone, who did an incredible job keeping his feet in bounds.
Oh, my gosh.
That was, it really was. I mean, I don't know if it was lucky or good. Either way, he got him in, and the game was over from that moment. That seemed to be the thing that broke Denver's back.
Yeah, because it could have been 10-10 at halftime
Exactly.
with that missed field goal.
Missed the field goal.
Allen's time to throw, 6.78 seconds, so very close to the other one. The fourth Longest on a 4th down touchdown in the playoffs in the next-gen era, so a lot of qualifiers there. But this is more interesting. It was his 10th completion to a running back of more than 10 yards downfield this season, more than double any other quarterback.
I don't know any team that throws the ball down the field quite to that extent,
right?
As far as doing that. I mean, it's Ty Johnson. It's the kid Ryan Davis, right? He's the one that got hurt. Ray Davis, excuse me. Yeah. Ray Davis got hurt with the kind of the hit to the head, right? That was down the field. They trust their guys. They do. And if they go, hey, you want to play defense and take away all these other things, we don't mind our running back man-to-man on a linebacker. We like that matchup. So this is what's different from Buffalo than years past. They can run the ball on just about anybody. They can protect like we saw them do on that big play, to where if you just think you're going to get to Buffalo rushing 4 all game long, you're not. He's going to have time and he's going to pick you apart. So that's part of the bind they put you in. Because, yeah, they can run the ball. Yeah, you're scared of their big plays. But he's playing a patient brand of football, too, to where if you rush forward and try to take away big plays, he'll just scramble for 5. He'll take the check down for 5 here. And that's where he's different in the past, too. So like I've said all year, like we've been saying, he has a support system, let alone he's playing at an ultra-high, mature level right now, and that's what's going to make them a tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's like you see some of these, and like Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper didn't do much, but they didn't need to do much. Khalil Shakir was there. Samuel had that big play.
Exactly,
so
right.
Got a lot of other weapons.
And then you run for 210 yards on top of that, right? So that's all you need to do. And that's where they're getting a little bit too. They're getting a little bit into just like their opponent next week, just like your Detroit Lions, right? They're a little bit like, pick your poison. What do you want to stop? And then, therefore, we'll figure out how we want to screw you off of that, right? They are a little bit of that. They are extremely complete offense that way, and they pose problems for you. And they're certainly the strength of their football team right now is that Buffalo Bills offense.
Hey, Pete, let's pull up the dots of that 55-yard touchdown to Curtis Samuel, because this was the first deep completion allowed by Patrick Surtain as the nearest defender in coverage this season.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at how this happened.
This is a play, and again, this is a tough play. I don't care who you are, Deion Sanders, Darrelle Revis, Patrick Surtain. But the big thing here, and when you just watch this again, is basically it's 4-by-1, right? There's 4 eligibles to the left.
Yeah.
If you watch it in real time and actually get to see the highlight and some of that, you'll see the Broncos got confused with who to pass it off to. And even on this play, Surtain kind of takes a wrong step or two, like he wasn't sure who he was supposed to take after the motion. You could see.
He's moving with Hollins.
He moves with Hollins, but he's got to take Curtis Samuel, right?
Yeah.
So he moved with the wrong guy. Obviously, the 4-by-1 thing put them in a little bit of a mix-up on the defensive side, and that's where, again, Buffalo's got manpower, they got physicality, they got a few guys that are talented, and then Joe Brady, every game has a few plays where you go, ooh, that was creative, that was cool, I like how they do that, and that's why, of course, he's in the running for a head coaching job.
And it's why, didn't I see Josh Allen out there say don't hire him?
Yeah, don't hire him. He tried, he's a horrible person, don't hire him.
Which is the appropriate thing to say.
Right.
Whenever you go, oh, man, this guy needs a head coaching job, you
right.
should be a little curious. Like, why would you say that? Well, you don't want to lose him.
No doubt about that. Here's one of my pet peeves of the game. It was 10-7 Bills.
Yeah.
Josh Allen scrambles, does a great job in the pocket. Amari Cooper, I believe it was Amari Cooper in the back of the end zone, breaks free. Mm-hmm. No, actually, I think it was Dawson Knox. Surtain held a guy, and Josh Allen yelled at the refs. The refs actually walked onto the sidelines and came to talk to him on the bench and told him to stop yelling at them, which I've never seen before, ever.
Yeah.
I would have, if that was me at quarterback, I'd have been like, don't worry about how I act. When somebody gets mauled, call the pass interference. So let's start there, right? That was a weird moment in the football game, but I only bring it up because you know my thoughts. Playoff football sometimes, all of a sudden, the way the game was ref the whole season, it changed. And that was one of the few this weekend where I went, what? Like, he bear hugged the guy and tackled him as he was spinning out and going to be wide open for a touchdown, and Josh Allen couldn't throw him the ball. And that, of course, kept Denver in the game a little bit longer than maybe they should have been.
Per Next Gen stats, the Bills utilized 6 or more offensive linemen on 22% of their plays against the Broncos, their third highest rate in a game this season. So they were ready if the Broncos wanted to bring the pressure.
They are.
So we'll protect our quarterback.
Well, and then that's where you get back into your the backseat. So let's bring an extra tackle in. We could still block with 5 or 6 guys, and we can still maybe put our back out, right?
Yeah.
But we have an extra big body in here to feel good if we want to slide maybe 5 offensive linemen one way, and then they leave big number 70, Alec Anderson, as the other guy. He's usually that extra O-lineman, and they can feel good about him being on the edge with the pass rusher or whoever else. But, yeah, they're one of the teams that uses the extra lineman about as much as anybody in football, and it serves them well with, yeah, we can run the ball and blow you off the ball that way, but we can also go, let's call a play and keep people in and let people go down the field and let the magic man, release the rocket launcher, or if it's not there, he scrambles and runs, and that's one of the problems the Bills pose for any defense that plays them.
6.78 seconds later, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
so
right.
Some accolades for this Bills team here. Look at what they've done here. So Josh Allen now 23 career playoff touchdown passes. That breaks Jim Kelly's franchise record.
Hey.
So when we're growing up, the Bills are in the Super Bowl every 4 years in a row. They're just one of those teams that's just like they racking up all these playoff wins. And now Josh Allen has tied Jim Kelly for the franchise record.
Josh Allen's rap in the playoffs is so off by everybody in the public and the media. It's crazy. He's one of the greatest playoff quarterbacks in the history of football. I mean, ever. They had it really. There's only one game that I can look at in Josh Allen and go, he didn't play very good in that playoff game when they lost to the Bengals, right? The year the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, right? That was like the only year ever, right? And that might not have been the Bengals Super Bowl year. It might have been the year the Bengals went to Kansas City and then lost in the AFC Championship. But either way, that's the only game I look at to go like, okay, he didn't play his best, but they were dominated as a team if you go back and watch the game. It was over early. You could tell Cincinnati was the better football team. Every other game, Josh Allen has played phenomenal. Or if he didn't, like the year they lost in the AFC Championship game to the Chiefs, they were so outclassed, like they weren't going to win the game anyways. So this is where I just don't understand it. He's not going to win the MVP this year. Lamar Jackson's going to win the MVP. It's already done. You saw with the All-Pro team, Lamar's first team All-Pro. That means everybody voted him to be the MVP too. So that's over. It's over. And I don't agree with it. I don't. Because we came on here more weeks, more people every week came on and went, whoa, McCourty, Jason Garrett, Josh Allen. He definitely had more weeks than Lamar did.
Yeah.
Lamar has a Hall of Fame first ballot runner. His running back ran for 1,900 yards. It's like, what, 10th most in the history of football? His support cast is better, right? But that's where I don't agree with it. I love Lamar, but I do think Josh Allen should have won the MVP. He's not going to win it, and maybe that motivates them, and this is going to be awesome about next week, Lamar versus Josh Allen.
That's a good call.
Incredible.
So Denver, real quick here. They were outscored 21-0 in the second half.
Right.
They lost 3 straight road games, allowing 30 or more points in all 3 of those games,
Yeah.
so ending the year with a whimper, at least on the road for that defense. We said they had kept games close and won some double-digit games. Well, this one they were not able to do that. So what do you make of, obviously a positive overall for the Denver Broncos?
Right.
But where do you assess where they are at the end of this whole thing?
I love where the Broncos are. They were playing with house money. That's what we talked about a little bit last week, right? They weren't supposed to be here. The fact that they were here and they're still paying Russell Wilson $45 million, right? They have the lowest cap ever for a team to make the playoffs, right? So, they have no extra money. This year they'll have a little bit more money. They took it all on the chin this year with Russell Wilson, and I'd say watch out. Sean Payton, as you see, he's a special coach. Now they get one more sexy game-breaking wide receiver. They get another guy or two on the defensive side of the ball. They are going to be a force in the AFC going forward. And Bo Nix is a really damn good player. You saw today. Again, they're not super explosive and amazing on offense. They can't run the ball, as you saw, so that's an issue. And then their receivers are good, but nobody where you're like, oh, gosh, if they don't double him, they're going to lose the game, right? So there's not that. You saw his ability to run today, led the team in rushing. He's special that way. Man, they're only going to get better and better from here on out. So this was a great year by Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, add a little bit. What would you add if you were the Broncos? What's the one
I think
area?
they need a game-breaking receiver.
One more receiver.
Yep. I think they probably need a big-time D tackle, somebody in the interior part of the defense. Like Zach Allen's really good, don't get me wrong. He's not necessarily known for his run stopping, okay? So that's where I could see one thing. I wouldn't be shocked if they even went the running back route too.
Sure.
And tried to get his version of an Alvin Kamara.
It seems like they got a lot of guys that they kind of like.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. There's just not that sizzle.
Javonte Williams, Audric Estime.
Yeah,
right?
Estime, right. They got a lot of good players on their football team. They just got to get now, like I always say, it's like they got the meat and the potatoes. Now it's time to go out and get some sizzle players.
Yeah.
Some guys that can make some plays in some big moments. They were in a tough spot today, right? Their defense, they didn't know what to do. They were scared to play too aggressive because if you do that, Josh Allen might make crazy plays. So they tried to play the conservative route, and then they started to realize, oh shit, we're dying a slow death. They're running on us. Then they went back to aggressive, and then that's where just Josh Allen and everybody got hot and on fire, and they dominated the football game.
And that was the longest segment ever of Give Me the Headlines presented by Hyundai. There it is, the football shooting through the air. I think that about sums it up here, right? I mean, we could talk a little bit, but I don't think we need to right now.
No, I think the
Ravens and Bills. We'll save that. Yeah, we could
say that later on here.
Juicy
whatever you want to
matchup.
do. I'm sure I'll hit it when I talk about it a little bit with the Baltimore matchup all together.
Yeah.
But that was a good win for a Bills football team. Playoff football, that home crowd. Win it in convincing fashion. Going to feel confident that you're playing good football with the Baltimore Ravens coming into town. Josh Allen's going to feel like he's playing at his best. And the defense can have a sense of like, hey, we played really good today. They only scored 7 on us, and it was just because that Sean Payton game plan stuff early in the game. So, like, spirits and belief will be as high as they could be in Buffalo leading up to this Baltimore Ravens game.
All right, we got more games to talk about. We got a game to update you on, but we'll do that all after the break. Welcome back to Chris Simms Unbuttoned, presented by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. And the Ravens and Steelers know each other. Play each other twice a year. They did that this year. Split those games.
Yep.
The first one we said, Mike Tomlin's figured out Lamar Jackson. He just knows him. He slows him down. If any coach or team does slow him down, it was Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Until the next game. And until the next game where the Ravens dominated in this one. 28-14 in a game where you all watched. It wasn't really even that close.
No, it was not that close. I mean, yeah, that's great if you know them and know them, but you got to have the people and the players to stop them and do things on the offensive side of the ball to make some plays and do all of that. This was not surprising to me, right? As much as all that talk, and I heard that from a lot of people, and I understand that thought totally, of like, hey, they know them, they know how to play them, and everything that goes involved in that conversation. Yeah, I get that, but also the Steelers have played like shit for the last month. And it's not looked good. It's not like, oh, man, they just blew that one or they got unlucky in that game. It's like, no, they were outplayed in every game, period. And the Ravens on the other side were going, we're kicking the shit out of everybody in every game here down the stretch. So I just didn't believe in that aspect. And then I think what scared me was the last matchup, and we broke that down on the pod last week, where I just went, man, Baltimore moved them at will in the run game. And, of course, we saw that in this one. It started out with Derrick Henry left, Lamar Jackson right, Derrick Henry left, Lamar Jackson right. I mean, what did they do? One of the drives, it was like they ran the ball 13 out of 14 plays, just right down their freaking throats. I think it was 12 out of 13 on that first 95-yard drive for a touchdown. Different class of a football team. Baltimore is peaking. Baltimore, like your Detroit Lions, it's like if you over one area, you're going to get screwed somewhere else. They got answers for everything, and, of course, the quarterback is phenomenal. The running back is phenomenal. They got a big offensive line. They got a lot of things working in their favor, and, of course, their defense has become a pain in the ass, too.
Yeah, Henry goes for almost 200. They run for almost 300 as a team. And what, Flowers didn't even play. He hurt his knee last week. That's right.
So he
was
out.
Where does that stand?
I mean, I think they're hopeful he can this week. They ruled him out this week. This past week on Friday.
Yeah.
They said he was not going to be able to make it. So hopefully he can be back at his best. Because, again, I don't want to see the Bills-Ravens and one of the team not have one of their best offensive players. I certainly want to see that. I don't want to hear any excuses, whatever else, but I think that's what makes them even more impressive. Again, the Ravens, like, Bateman's a pain in the ass. And then, of course, both tight ends, you worry about Mark Andrews, and then you go, oh, shit, they got Isaiah Likely. I forgot. He's a damn pain in the ass, too. Yeah. So they give you a lot of schematical issues, physical issues, and then, like you talked about with Josh Allen, there's so many plays where you could go, oh, the defense was great there. Oh, but we still let up a big play because Lamar Jackson makes magic happen.
In that second quarter drive to make it 14-0, 13 plays, all runs,
it was
85 yards.
That's incredible.
And a touchdown. Per Next Gen Stats, for Derrick Henry, forced 12 missed tackles on the night, all on the ground, 157 yards after contact, the third most by a player in a game this season. Now, I mean, we've seen this before from Derrick Henry. It's like, as the year goes, December, the temperatures go down. But I do think there's something to that, right? It hurts to tackle Derrick Henry no matter what time of year it is. But when it's 30 degrees...
At 30 degrees, it's even worse. The game slows down and it becomes more about size and physicality. This is the thing. Like, we talked about this a little bit with like college football, because some of the, southern teams had to come up and play Penn State, right? SMU had to play Penn State in a cold day. Tennessee had to play Ohio State. All of a sudden,
neutralized.
I'm not warm and I'm not fast, and oh man, it's like the game's a little different out here. The ball's hard. It's slick. I got to like really be careful about like what I do with it when I'm trying to get extra yards. The game becomes a little less sexy, and it becomes a little bit more about size and physicality. And that's where, when you always hear, right? You always hear the old coach, the playoffs are about defense and running the football, right? Yeah. Because, it's a little bit about the time of the year and some of the elements you play in, and the grass can be, choppy and not fast or whatever else. And all of a sudden, size really does matter in that kind of matchup. And Baltimore, of course, is the ultimate size football team. My biggest problem with Pittsburgh in this football game, right? Their offense got going a little bit later on. I just thought it was all way too conservative. The whole game plan, everything. You got to know what you are. And, did you really think if we just play a clean football game, we're going to beat the Baltimore Ravens? Absolutely not. You're going to have to force the issue a little. And I hated, the defense was way too conservative. Right? The Ravens are one of those teams we talk about all the time. You got to do some different stuff. If you just think we're going to play sound, I'm going to have a guy in the A gap, a guy in the B gap, and I'll have a guy in the C gap. Oh, yeah, but what happens when they shift the formation and somebody flies in motion, and then he fakes to Derrick Henry, and then he comes back out the other side, and now he has two pullers in front of him. Tell me about the A gap and the B gap in there. Where's everybody at now? Oh, shit, there's nobody there, right? So you got to do some stuff where you go, we're going to start some chaos. We're going to, push the envelope a little bit on giving them some shit that'll just up their blocking scheme, and they're going to be like, whoa, what is this? They never did that at any point in the game. I mean, their first two touchdown drives are 13 plays 95-yard drives and then 13 play 85-yard drives, and they with two drives, they took a quarter off the clock. That tells me you're not doing the right thing. And you just sit back and play I think if we make them, run enough plays, they might make a mistake. That's cool against a lot of teams. That ain't always cool against the elite teams in football. Lamar Jackson and them, I wouldn't be if we just play it good, they'll make a mistake. If you do that, your ass is going to be down 21-0 in a hurry, just like they did. And that's what I did not like about the Steelers' attack. I did not like it on either side of the ball. I thought it was way too bland and conservative.
So we got a lot of comments from Steelers fans that want to, what's going on here? So they are 0-5 in the playoffs since 2017. Their last win was 2016 at Kansas City. And I saw a headline describe the Steelers as currently in purgatory, which I think is a good way to put it, right? It's they're in the playoffs every year. They're right in the middle. They're not in heaven. They're not in hell, although Steelers fans, this kind of is
it's hell for them.
You get to the playoffs every year and you lose the first round. Steel Season said to you, not a damn okay, but Chris, why did the Steelers not go Fields after halftime? The offense was very stagnant. The first half played better in the second half, but was that due to the Ravens defense slacking or the Steelers stepping up? Thanks. I mean, just to speak to not enough stuff done defensively, not enough stuff done offensively.
No, they just not enough there. That makes you think. Not enough attacking in general at all. So those are all issues. There's no doubt about that. I think the thing with the Justin Fields and that is just that that's a tough decision to make. It's just hard to do that. First off, they believe in Russell Wilson. They believe in that. They made their decision to go with him for, quite some time ago. And, of course, he had some success. And we've talked about him being a little bit better of a thrower than Justin Fields. And I think they looked at it hey, we're down 21-0. First off, Justin Fields running is not going to get us back in this. We get him to make some plays in the pass game. So they did that, let alone it's just a tough situation to put Justin Fields in anyways. So, no, I understand them going with Russell Wilson. Hey, they had a chance to make it a game a little bit in the second half. There was a few opportunities, but they could just never come through in any of the big moments to really put the pressure on the Baltimore Ravens.
Reed Shue says to you, damn okay, the Steelers were major frauds. Is Russ more to blame or the offensive unit as a whole?
Well, I think it's a little of all of it. Yeah. The offensive unit, though, they need way more players across the board. They need more players altogether. So, like, I know Mike Tomlin is 0 for his last 5 in the playoffs. 2017 is the last time I thought they should have won a playoff game. When they lost to the Jaguars, right? When they were talking about, our matchup against the Patriots in the AFC Championship is going to be epic. Remember, Mike Tomlin kind of made that, and then they got upset by the freaking Jacksonville Jaguars at home and got like a shootout. You remember that game?
Yeah.
Right? That was the last time the Steelers took a playoff game where I went, they're going to win today. Ever since then, like, I never at one point did I go, well, I think that, you know me, we've rooted them for not getting the playoffs because we knew they were going to lose the game.
They shouldn't even be here right now.
Right. I rooted against it. So there has to be, I mean, one, the offense has been an issue that needs to open up, become a little more explosive, whatever. If not, then we got to go get a marquee running back and change what we're going to do and how we do that on the offensive side of the ball. But, yeah, they need more players and playmakers. Their receiving unit stinks. It stinks. It's nothing good. They have one really good player, and he's probably the biggest distraction on their whole football team. So that stinks too. George Pickens and all that. The running back position is just The O-line has gotten better. That's a positive thing. The defensive side of the ball, I'd go, there's not a lot of great there either. You got some edge guys. We got Cam Hayward, who's hanging on to a thread here at the end of his career. After that, I don't look at anybody on Pittsburgh and just go, oh, wow, that guy at secondary. Oh, this guy. Oh, that guy at middle linebacker. I mean, so they're a team that needs some more players if they think they're going to be in the class of the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Lions, and that type of team. They don't have the same roster as those teams.
One more on this, but 23 seconds to go. A 37-yard field goal for whoever is now kicking for the Washington Commanders.
What a drive, though, again, by the Commanders.
Up, and it is off the upright.
He doinked it in. He doinked it in
off
in the upright on the right side. Incredible.
The bank shot.
Wow.
Baker and Todd Bowles are out. Todd Bowles going to do the handshake right now. Dan Quinn's not going to get there in time.
Incredible
players.
Incredible win.
Tell me about the drive.
Well, the drive itself, just Jaden Daniels, of course, the throws he made, but he had a 3rd and 2 where they ran a bootleg. The Buccaneers defense just absolutely busted through the line of scrimmage. Kalijah Kancey had a chance to tackle him for like an 8-yard loss, and he broke the tackle and then turned the corner and ran and got the first down, which allowed them to run the clock down to 3 seconds and, of course, win the football game. Wow. What a big win for Washington, Dan Quinn, and Jaden Daniels.
All right, well done, guys in the back there. We got the graphic for the score right now. But I want to do one more question from the Steelers game, and then we'll go right to this one. Do we have the capability of doing that?
I think we do. This is 2024. We're NBC.
All right, so we'll do that. And, Pete, we'll do this game next, and then we'll do a break for the home team help. Well, look at this.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, Pete's like, that's my job. That's my job right here. One more question, and I normally wouldn't. This is back to the Steelers and the Ravens, and we love Mike Tomlin. I love Mike Tomlin.
I know, but I know the question you're going to ask.
So this is Brent Plotel.
Yeah.
That says, do you think it's time the Steelers part ways with Mike Tomlin, which on its face it seems like crazy. It's like this guy does miracles every year by getting this team we don't want. Maybe he doesn't even want to get in the playoffs, into the playoffs every year. Right. Hasn't had a losing year in forever, like almost 2 decades. But I wonder if there's something to it's just like it has run its course.
It just needs a refresh for both sides, all of it.
And be careful what you wish for, because a refresh might mean you're 4-13 for like
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years in a row for sure.
Right.
Like, what do you think about that?
I don't feel like that. I look at them, right, and their football team. And listen, you can maybe blame him for offensive coordinators that he's hired. I understand that, right? But I still look at it and go, I think there's more front office problems there than coaching problem, right? They're physical always. He manages games usually really well. He finds little cheap ways to get turnovers, block a punt, trick play, whatever, to give his team an advantage. To me, they have not had a team that I look at player-wise. And again, he's just the coach. This is Pittsburgh. There is a pecking order and how they do things in Pittsburgh, right? Like the season's over now, and now it's like, hey, front office, time to you to do your job. And like I told you, I don't feel like since 2017 have they had a team that I would go, I think they can make a run in the playoffs. That would be my big thing. I understand what you're saying, and it's perfectly legitimate thought, right? I mean, Andy Reid was awesome, and then came into just like a few stale years with Philadelphia, and you're like, I think they just both need a change of scenery, right? We see that with players all the time. So I totally get the question, but if you're asking me part ways, right, and you don't know what you're going to get at head coach, or let's improve the roster and spend some money and keep the head coach, I would rather do that. They got to do that. They got to figure out the quarterback situation. That's, of course, a big part of this problem too, right? They had a deal with Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career where he wasn't real good, and they kind of had to manage him a little bit, and now they're in a spot where they can't seem to get any quarterback to work quite the right way. But, like, my thoughts. I already said it. They need more players on both sides of the ball.
And I think it's probably even more likely, still not likely, but more likely that Mike Tomlin might be the one. It's just like, you know what, maybe it's time to go try
like
something
maybe I need to go
new.
somewhere else.
Yeah,
right?
I want something else more exciting. This is just not getting it done for me. So that
I don't get this sense that that's going to happen by just people I know in the league and things like that. So we'll see where that goes, but maybe something changes over the next 24 hours.
Speculation at this. Just talking. It's just talking.
Yep.
That's all we're doing right now. All right, just to finish. Commanders beat the Buccaneers 23-20 with a doink at the end there by Gonzalez. Your instant takeaway from our NBC wild card game.
I'm just amazed. Rookie quarterbacks don't do this in the playoffs, right? Rookie quarterbacks, this smooth, this clutch. I hate to, me, I don't even like to make it like all about the quarterback all the time. But this is one where it's just like, it is. Well, Tampa was in a bind from the start of the game because they were like, what do we do with Jaden Daniels? The game started with them doing stuff that I like. They weren't rushing 5. They weren't rushing 6. They were rushing 4. They were playing coverage. I like that. I really like that. The problem was this. They got beat on one man-to-man play by Terry McLaurin in the first half on the left sideline, and Todd Bowles got scared to play man-to-man from that point on for a long time. Then they decided, we'll play zone. It's hard. Jaden Daniels will pick you apart. He's too smart and patient and sees the field and too accurate of a thrower to where he is. You just can't play. You can't play zone all game. He'll take 5 yards here, 5 yards here. We've talked about them a lot this year. They're like a ball control passing offense, right? Their first drive of the night that they scored touchdown on, 17 plays. He's totally cool with I'll take a 5-yard pass here. I'll take a 5-yard pass there. That's great to him. So, from that aspect, that's what I'm amazed by. So he puts them in a bind that way, and then they're like, oh, no, we're dying a slow death, and he's surgically picking us apart, and then they go back to the man-to-man, and he starts making plays that way. They didn't run the ball worth a damn tonight. It was Jaden Daniels' clutch moments and big moments, and then their defense, of course, made a few big plays that helped them out as well.
I would love to get a heart rate monitor on Jaden Daniels. Yeah. What if he doesn't go above 65?
Oh.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I wouldn't doubt it. He doesn't seem like it ever goes too far up at all. Hey, that system, he's comfortable. Cliff Kingsbury is finding ways to get Terry McLaurin the ball on a consistent basis. And then our other thing was just hey, can some other receiver pop up for them every now and then? And De'Ami Brown here the last 4 or 5 weeks has started to become a real thing for them and a playmaker.
Oh, De'Ami Brown, cool 5 catches, 89 yards, touchdown. Crash Davis 010 says to you, is De'Ami Brown finally legit? He was your number 3 wide receiver.
Right.
He was behind Jamar Chase and behind Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
So that was good putting them behind those guys.
Yeah,
he wasn't better than them.
Right. I put him in front of Jalen Waddle, which was wrong, I think. That was what I think I did, too.
Although in 2024, he was probably better than Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, he's coming along. Coming along. And he said, I remember even back in college, he said he was a slow starter in college. It took him a little while. We'll see where it goes. He certainly got speed, and he's pretty physical for a speed guy. So that's the positive thing there. I got to give also Dan Campbell, the defense, some credit, too. They weren't perfect tonight. Dan Quinn, excuse me.
He was like Dan Campbell going for those 4th downs.
4th downs going for it.
And I will say this, too. I mean, not that it's all about the 4th down. Tampa did have a 4th and 3 from the Washington 14. They kicked the field goal to tie the game.
I know.
Which ended up losing.
Yeah. That's a
points.
tough one there. I'm not mad at them for that one there.
Yeah.
It's late in the football game. You want to tie the football game. I know Todd Bowles, too. He's believing in his defense. His defense was so close to making a few plays to end the football game, and they couldn't do that. But the great job by Dan Quinn and the defense, too, where I thought they were in a tough spot with trying to stop the Tampa Bay run game. They did a really good job of knowing when to play run defense and take a chance and play man-to-man and leave Lattimore on Mike Evans, and when to, like, go, okay, I don't think we'll run it here. Let's kind of show an 8-man box and then drop back into zone. And, oh, shit, we thought we were getting man-to-man, and now it's zone, and nobody's open. They had a lot of good moments, and Tampa Bay's offense never seemed to really get into that flow we've seen them get here the last month, where the running game, the aggressive passes down the field all start to click. That never really started to happen here tonight in Tampa Bay, other than maybe the last drive of the first half.
I'm sure you've seen this. It is their first playoff win since
they beat me.
No, 2005 wild card.
They have got our number apparently on this football field.
Every
right
20 years,
yep.
you can set your watch
Washington's going to Tampa, and they're going to beat them somehow, some way.
And Simms will be either talking about the game, quarterbacking the game, or something. He's going to be involved somehow. So now it is the Commanders taking on my Detroit Lions in Detroit.
Going to Detroit, doing that.
I don't know if I like that. I don't hate it. I think Detroit's favored against anyone they were potentially going to play, but
no, I like the matchup for you guys. Yeah. And now we're going to have the Eagles hosting either the Vikings or the Rams on Sunday afternoon. And I just saw the graphic. That's our game. And we'll be doing a pregame show from there at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Okay. So we'll be hitting the road, going to Philadelphia next week.
All right, that's cool. You're in Philly.
We're going to Philly.
When's the last time you were there?
We're going there. When's the last time I was there?
Is it pre-Hurts or post-Hurts?
It was since I played, I haven't been to Philly. Since I was on the Denver Broncos.
All right, extra security.
Right, extra security.
Talk to Matt about that.
I'm going to have to talk to Big Dom in Philadelphia and tell him to protect me on the field.
Send me your best men.
The Eagles fans are going to kill me today. I talk great about the Eagles all the time, but I've talked bad against Jalen Hurts, so now they're going to kill me.
He goes, no, Chris, we are going to kill you. So
I'm going to help you.
I can confirm that. I've been hired to do just that. So that'll be interesting.
Yes, it will.
That's going to be okay. Well, plenty of time to talk about that. Let's talk about Tampa here,
right?
Because I think Tampa was a highly successful team this year.
They
had some losses too, but they had some big wins. And Baker had a great year, and Bucky Irving emerged as a guy they can go to in their running game. Mike Evans was awesome again.
Definitely.
They're a little older.
Yeah.
Like where do we have Tampa right now?
I still feel good about Tampa Bay. I mean, you look at some of their receiver Mike Evans is getting up there, but you got a stud running back. You got two of them really, Rashad White or Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving being the main guy. Baker's in the prime of his career. Cade Otton's a good tight end. You have an offensive line that they're all young and big time with an all-pro left tackle to go along with that. So that side of the ball, and Jalen McMillan's coming, right? So that side of the ball is really good. It's going to be like, hey, let's get another receiver to protect ourselves because Mike Evans is getting up there and he might get hurt a little often here or there, blah, blah, blah. The defensive side of the ball, right? Their D-line, Vita Vea, Kalijah Kancey, Yaya Diaby, how do you not like that group right there?
Like a good mix of vet and young guys.
Yeah, exactly right. Vita Vea up there a little bit, but Kalijah Kancey and Yaya Diaby are, still extremely young. Secondary might be a place where they have to look. Corner. Antoine Winfield getting banged up this year certainly hurt them. So that bothered their secondary all year. They had some issues at cornerback with injuries. They traded away Carlton Davis. So I think that's probably where you look at them on that side of the ball to try to get better, but still a very good year and a team that I look at and go, they have all the necessary pieces to still be damn good next year. We'll see what they do in the offseason. They're going to be hurt by this loss tonight, certainly.
Yeah.
But good year by the Bucs. And, I think if you told a lot of people like, hey, Tom Brady left the Bucs, and the 2 years after that, Baker Mayfield led them to the playoffs, they'd be like, oh, shit, I'll take that, right? It's hard to say that now when you lose a game to Washington where you might feel you were better than that. But nonetheless, I think, arrow is pointing up there in Tampa Bay.
And they're a fun team to watch.
They are a fun team to watch.
That's underrated sometimes.
Yes, they are.
I do enjoy watching Tampa play.
Yep.
All right, we got to take one last break. When we come back, Pete expertly shifted the rundown, so we have one more game to talk about. Texans Chargers.
I thought you were going to tell him how to do the show again.
I would know. I leave that in Pete's hands. Yeah, he didn't like that at all. Take that out. So we take a break now. We'll be back with one more segment per Pete after this. Welcome back to Chris Simms Unbuttoned. It is time for Home Team Help, presented by Lowe's. The Texans got that home team help, taking on the 5 seed in the Chargers, who were on the road but favored. And they did not look like the favorite team by the end of this one. 32-12, the final score. Houston is now 6-2 all-time in home playoff games. Right. And so here's a little quiz for you, pop quiz.
Okay.
Houston is one of 5 teams with at least 6 home wins since 2011. Who are the other 4 teams? Who are they in there with?
Well, the Patriots are one.
Yep.
The Chiefs are another.
Yep.
The Eagles.
Eagles are not.
Okay. Just let me take that away. There's 2 more teams.
2 more teams.
And it's how many? 5 wins or more?
6 wins or more since 2011. Home wins.
Okay.
Home wins.
Yep. Okay. Hold on. Don't
check out the teams.
Yep. I got to check out the team. I'm really surprised the Eagles aren't in that. I'm going to go Buffalo.
Buffalo is in there.
Okay.
And there's one more.
Gosh, damn.
You're just missing this one.
I know. I was looking at it. Is it the Seattle Seahawks?
It is not the Seahawks. It is your buddy Kyle and the San Francisco 49ers.
Damn. All right.
But Houston's in that mix.
Duh.
Yeah, right. I was like,
duh.
They keep going to the because they keep losing the Super Bowl. You're like, I don't even think they were in it. I'm blocking the whole thing out. But they have won at home a lot. They've been in the playoffs a lot. Of course, that somewhat was Deshaun, but now here they go.
Yeah.
The second era with C.J. Stroud, and maybe they played their best game of the season in some respects.
Yeah.
At the end of the season here in their first playoff game.
Hey, their defense, first off, was phenomenal.
I'm going to give you credit on that real quick, too, because you were tipping me off on all the stats. I was like, dang, they really are that good. Yeah. I didn't realize
they've
that
flown under the radar as one of the top defenses in football.
In this game, they did not fly under the radar.
You're right about. I mean, first off, the 2 pass rushers that was shocking to me. I mean, the 2 guards, Rashawn Slater and tackles for the Chargers, they're pretty good players. They got dominated by Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson yesterday, let alone the other guys on the inside all had plays that showed up too. The linebackers, as we know, are as fast in football. The 2 damn corners are special. I mean, Stingley's first team All-Pro, right? So they can play man-to-man. Kwame Lassiter on the other side is damn good too, the rookie from Georgia. So they got a little of everything. They don't do a ton on defense, as we know, but it allows them, when you have a talented defense, to just fly around and play, and we saw that yesterday. That's what we saw. That was the first thing that jumped out to me. The second thing is what I was texting with you last night. This is where I like our pod, and I feel good about our pod sometimes because we get ahead of things, right? What was the thing we've been talking about with Houston? Right, that they needed to change. It doesn't make sense that we run plays that take long to develop down the field, yet we are the worst pass protecting team in football. That doesn't make sense. What did we see in the game the other day?
There we go.
We saw it. 3-step dropping pass game, right?
Quick game.
Quick game. All game long, really, for the most part. So that's something to watch. I think they're going to have to almost change themselves into a little bit like what we talked about with Washington, right? Where, hey, we don't know if we can always run the football, but our quarterback's pretty good decision maker. He's accurate as hell. We're going to just let him pick you apart 5 yards here, 4 yards here, 5 yards here, and then hopefully mix in a little Joe Mixon and all that. And you're going to look up and go, damn, it's a 12-play drive. And, they're down here on the 10-yard line. I think you're going to see more of that. I think it's the right way for them to do it. He's an extremely accurate thrower. He's got a quick release, and they don't protect well. So get it out and just keep kind of moving the ball that way. And then you sprinkle in some Joe Mixon, and like we saw in the game yesterday, there wasn't like a lot of great Joe Mixon early on, but then they started to throw the ball, and the Chargers are so worried about that Joe Mixon all of a sudden starts to rip off big plays, and then it all started to work. So certainly was one of the better games we saw them play the last half of the season. 100%. That is for sure.
And you watch that game, and you're like, dang, maybe they could give the Chiefs a run for their money. And
they match up well with the Chiefs.
So here's the passing chart. I don't know if we showed it already here, Pete. C.J. Stroud, he was under 10 yards downfield. He was 17 to 24, 147 yards, a touchdown. Did have some success deep there, too.
Yeah.
135 yards. Did throw the pick downfield, though. But yeah, a lot of green dots for C.J. Stroud in this game.
Green dots, I think that's the way it's got to be going forward. I would think with the Kansas City Chiefs and Chris Jones and their pass rush, and they like the blitz, we're going to continue to see that. Also, listen, you can talk about the game all you want. The Chargers blew some opportunities early in the football game. Right, that's why I picked the Chargers to win. I thought they would have some game plan plays to start the football game that would put Houston behind the 8 ball, and then the Chargers would just limp home, just barely winning the game with their defense.
Right? They did limp home. You were right on that.
They limped home, for certainly. But Disley dropping the ball on 3rd down, that led to the second field goal. Disley not turning up the field and getting the first down on the first field goal where he should have got that, and then they got stopped on the 3rd one. Those were huge moments.
Disley tapping the ball into the other team's hands at the end of the game.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert at first interception where he rolls right and then kind of stays on the run and tries to throw it back left. Like, no, Justin Herbert set up and throw a rocket to the post corner of the backside. He was open. He was late to throw it. and the ball was underthrown. So they blew opportunities early on in the football game where they could have had at least control and put pressure on Houston. But then Houston settled in, and they really kind of controlled the game from, what would you say, late second quarter on. It was really the missed shotgun snap by C.J. Stroud on a third down where the ball bounced, and now the defense takes their eyes off of their responsibilities, and they start to chase the quarterback, and he hit the big throw over the middle. I can't remember who he hit to after he dropped that snap and picked it up off the ground. I think it might have been Robert Woods down the middle when he was scrambling. But it was like that jump-started their team, that jump-started their offense, so they never really looked back from that moment on.
Yeah, Herbert with, I'm sure you've seen the stat there, 4 interceptions, 3 in the final 4 drives. He had 3 all regular season. I didn't realize he had that few in the regular season. Pressured on 50% of his dropbacks per next-gen stats.
That's crazy, right.
I mean, that is crazy.
It is crazy. I did not expect the Chargers to get whooped up front to that capacity, let alone not be able to run the ball at all. Like the Chargers, they need a running back. That'll be the first thing they have to address. If you want to be Jim Harbaugh and run the football, they're going to have to get an elite running back, right? So that certainly has to happen in the offseason. Justin Herbert, I feel bad for him.
So let me throw this one at you here.
Yeah.
TFN Sports Talk.
Okay.
This is right from a Sports Talk radio question. So good job, TFN. Damn okay goes to Jordan Love and Justin Herbert because, damn, are they okay? Both get sent home packing because of brutal turnovers and just overall bad play. They're better than that, or are they? Herbert has had some bad playoff losses.
He has. I was sitting there watching the game yesterday going, oh, man, Justin Herbert, he's not going to hear the end of this. My dad was sitting there watching the game with me, and I was going, oh, this is a thing now. Now next year, if they get in the playoffs, it's going to be like, well, is Justin Herbert going to choke again? He blew a 27-0 lead to the Jaguars, and then yesterday,
4 picks.
4 picks, certainly missed a few throws, right? To me, when I knew they were off kilter and he was a little flustered, remember in the first half, he had 2 throws where, like, the pocket was okay. He held the ball, and then people were bearing down on him, and he tried to throw it and kind of got hit as he was throwing, and the ball flew up in the air. No interceptions happened, but that to me was like, whoa, they're faster than the Chargers are realizing, and he's not, like, having great feel within the pocket. That was a little alarming in itself. Now, let me defend Justin Herbert a little, too. There's things he's got to get better at. He's got to play backyard football better. We've talked about that before. It can't just be like, oh, I'm big, I'm going to stand in the pocket, and I'm just going to throw it no matter what. And every now and then it's going to be first guy's not open, second guy's not open. Oh, wait, I'm a pretty good runner. Let me go run and make a play. There's got to be some of that. He's got to change his arm angles, throwing the football a little bit more. It can't always be, I'm big, I throw over the top of everybody. It can't be that. That has to change. And then the most important thing here is they need to help him with some players around him. I mean, come on. Like, I like Ladd McConkey, but he's not the guy you're supposed to be like, we got to devise the whole offense around Ladd McConkey. That's just not going to work. Quentin Johnson's okay. He had some moments, but he wasn't good yesterday, and there was a lot of other games that weren't good too. So they're another team that we put in the category of the steak and the meat and potatoes are there, but now they need some sizzle. They got to get some guys that can really make some plays on the offensive side of the ball to help Justin Herbert. I would expect that to happen. I would think they're going to get a big-time receiver and a big-time running back this year. And then, the defense has a lot of parts you like. They're just going to have to figure out who they want to keep and what they want to do there and kind of reconfigure. But, the defense, of course, I have a lot of respect. They're probably going to add a few players, too.
Let me end it on a positive here for Houston. A couple positives. You mentioned Joe Nixon, right? He goes over 100 yards in this one. He, too, is like a Derrick Henry where it gets cold. Not fun to tackle Joe Mixon at the end of a season.
If people saw Joe Mixon, how big he was in person, they'd go, oh, no, I didn't realize he's this kind of specimen.
Exactly.
He's a specimen.
And Cam Ventura, 6'17", says, damn okay, Nico Collins, pushing to be among the top tier of receivers in the league. Size, speed, hands, body control, run after catchability are all off the charts. Texans need to keep feeding him.
They definitely do. He's their most explosive playmaker on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't even think he's like totally 100% himself ever since he pulled the hamstring. He still doesn't look as fast to me, but it's still fast. And, of course, he's got size to go along with it. And he can fit this short passing offense, right? What did we see? Was it the first play of the third quarter? They throw a little slant to the left. He breaks it right up the middle and gets the long gain, and then Joe Mixon fumbled the play or two later. Yeah. But, he could be that guy, and I would expect this to continue. The Chiefs, we know, it's like they play man or they blitz, or they show they're going to play man and blitz, and they drop out and play zone. Great thing to combat that is the short passing game, what we saw from the Texans yesterday. I would think they continue to ride that. We'll see where it goes. And, I mean, we've talked about the Chiefs play every game close for the most part. Now they're going a long layoff. They're playing a defense with 2 pass rushers where we know, hey, Joe Thuney has done good at left tackle, but this is going to be another big test, or whoever's going to be playing over there. We'll see where it goes. But, yeah, I don't like that layoff for the Chiefs, and the Texans are going to be going into the game like we talked about before with I guess it might have been Buffalo. They're going to feel good about going in next week. Hey, offense played good. Hey, defense was amazing. We've won 2 in a row, right? Even though last week was against the Tennessee Titans. So vibes and belief will be as high as they can possibly be. And they're going to sit there and go, we could have beat the Chiefs the last time. We had a chance to beat them when Simms and them were down at Universal Studios doing the pregame show.
Yeah.
We should have done it that day.
Yeah, he was wearing a sweater in Florida. It was actually a little windy that day and kind of cold for Florida.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why that worked its way into the conversation. Chiefs are at 8.5-point favorite, I'm seeing right here.
Wow, that's a lot for me.
That does seem a little high.
That's
right,
too much for me. I don't like that right off the bat.
I
don't.
didn't watch last game. All right, one more to go.
Yep.
Oh, that was Lowe's home team help. Before we move on to the next one, don't want to make Lowe's mad at us there. One more game to go. We got a Monday night. Our friends at ESPN, ABC, Vikings at Rams in Glendale, Arizona. The game moved from L.A. because of the wildfires there. So Minnesota here, a 2.5-point favorite. You predicted the Vikings to win by 3.
Yeah, I have faith in the Vikings. I think they're the better football team. The only thing that scares me at all in this matchup is that we get the Sam Darnold we saw last week. Sam Darnold's been really good. Sam Darnold, though, last week was certainly, we said this on Wednesday, he was, Pete's funny, he's saying seeing ghosts. No, he wasn't seeing ghosts, but he certainly was, I think, amped up, nervous, a little quick with his mental clock in the pocket, right? We talked about it a little bit. There was plays where I go, oh, man, he's hit that throw all year. He missed that. Why did he miss that? Or there was plays where I go, wait, what? Why? The first read was open for like an easy completion. Why are we already looking somewhere else? Like, what happened? So he was just off kilter. I would expect this week that's what they worked on. Kevin O'Connell, hey, just relax. You've been playing good football all year. And I think the other thing that I just worry about is I do worry about the Rams offense moving the ball consistently on a Vikings defense that I think is pretty damn good. And getting a second crack at the Rams, like I always usually favor the team that lost the first time around. In a second matchup where the Rams squeaked it out the first time around and it should have been the face mask in the end zone, right? I'm going to trust that the Vikings make the proper adjustments and win a close one.
Well, and who knows? Maybe Dan Campbell gave the Rams motivation to beat the Vikings by him saying to Kevin O'Connell, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Right.
It's like he gave the Rams bulletin board material to beat the Vikings. He is like next level.
Master class.
He's just going level.
And this is Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Ahmed Freed always brings it back to the Lions.
I mean,
there's we talked about 6 matchups, and you brought up the Lions and 4 of them today.
It's a legitimate storyline in that whole one. DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New customers can bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the app and use the promo code Unbuttoned when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
I think the Lions cost DraftKings and all the casinos a lot of money this year.
Did they?
I heard that favorites actually hurt the betting platforms.
The favorites.
Because when you bet, I guess,
right,
most of the time we're not creative enough as people
right,
to think like the underdog really could win.
Right.
And so we're like, the Lions are way better than them. We're going to crush them. And they actually did this year more times than not.
This is a year where you ride the points. You ride. We talked about this. There's teams that are on a different level. That's why I rode the points of the Ravens and I rode the points of the Buffalo Bills. Like, again, don't fool yourself in some of these. We've been talking about there's 5 or 6 teams that are above everybody else all year long. Right? I know there's, the Steelers have played them before. That could be scary. But but actually in the moment, the Steelers have been playing like crap lately, and the Ravens have been awesome. And the Bills have been playing really damn good. And the Broncos, right? It's the Broncos, we didn't say this. They beat all the teams they should this year, and they never beat one team that they shouldn't. That was the big thing. And I knew Josh Allen and them will be ready.
Yeah.
Will be ready come Wednesday. Pick Six Pod, we'll be back at it. Will you wear red pants again, or will you go back to the blue?
I don't think I can do that. I think I can wear them kind of once a month because then people start saying I wear them every day.
Yeah, the people like the red pants. They're clamoring for it. All right. All right, everybody. You know where to find us. Subscribe, rate, review. We'll be back on Wednesday for the Pick Six Pod. We'll be breaking down these matchups. Going to be looking forward to that. Thursday will be the Picks Pod with Florio. And then, hey, next Sunday, Beyond the Field in Philadelphia, I will be ducking and weaving. I don't know what it'll be.
Yeah.
It could be batteries. It could be snowballs.
Well, yeah.
It could be anything.
If Chris is not on the pregame show, you know that he died.
Right.
I
died. Maybe I should wear like a Phil Simms Giant jersey in pregame or something like that. See how that goes over. I don't think it'll go good.
I don't think that's good. Reggie White.
Yeah,
Reggie White.
I am interested to see how I'm received in Philadelphia. I talk about their team more glowingly than anybody in sports media.
Yeah.
But I've questioned their quarterback.
Go to Hurts jersey. Go into Hurts jersey and just see what's happening.
Maybe I should. We'll see if NBC lets me wear the Hurts jersey. We'll see where that goes. All right, everybody. Peace out. Enjoy the week. Enjoy Monday Night Football with the Rams and the Vikings. That should be a good one. We'll see you on Wednesday. Peace out. Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Thanks for watching Chris Simms Unbuttoned. It's playoff time, baby.
So make sure to smash that subscribe button, as they say. We got game recaps coming up. We got all of our Super Bowl 59 coverage from Radio Row. You will be in New Orleans yourself.
And you're going to be there at some point, too, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
Thanks again for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies.